Imagine if you had a list that could break down which players you should be targeting in every single round of your fantasy basketball league. You're in luck. In this episode, I'm going to be sharing my list, my guys, the players that I'm targeting in every single draft for fantasy basketball points leagues. We believe every NBA fan should play fantasy basketball. So I went back to the tier list breakdown. We're going to do it by round. So these are not S tier, A tier. This is round one, round two, round three, and so on. We're going to get through 13 rounds today. I'm going to share with you 3 players in each round that I'm really interested in drafting this season. So let's get right to it. The first player I'm looking at, I'm going to have to scroll down a little bit. If you're watching on the YouTubes, I'm going to have to scroll down a little bit, drag this dude up all the way up, and I'm going to keep dragging him because the screen is so daggone small. I got to make it happen. But my first player is Cade Cunningham. So I put Cade Cunningham here as the first person I'm really targeting in round one of fantasy basketball drafts. And I'm speaking specifically to points leagues. Now, check it out. When we talk about those first five picks, I should say, I think it goes without saying that we're talking about Wemby, we're talking about Jokic, we're talking about SGA, Giannis, Luka. You know the drill, right? And those players are kind of interchangeable. I would say Jokic is the clear number one. But at the same time, if you decided to go with Wemby at 1, I wouldn't be mad at you. This is talking about 6 through 12. Who are those players that I'm really looking at in that area? And Cade Cunningham is my number one choice right after that first round of 5. So the next few players I have here is a player that I think is falling too far in drafts when it comes to first round value. I've seen him go in the second round, but this is somebody, especially in those later picks in the first round, I'm definitely interested in taking, and that is the beard, James Harden. So I got James Harden here right after Cade Cunningham, if I could just get him up into that round 1 tier. So that's the second player I'm looking at. The next guy I want to look at is someone who's getting kind of pooped on right now, if you think about it. People are not giving him his credit. He performed at a high level last year, and consistently over the years, he's been a high performer for fantasy basketball. My third selection in the first round, or the third target, I should say, that I'm looking at is Karl Anthony Towns. Now, I know people have concerns with Mike Brown coming to town, and they believe that his minutes are going to be impacted so bad and so greatly that he's going to be like a second round player like overnight. He's going to be a third round player overnight. I don't believe it. I don't believe the hype. I think at the back end of the first round, I am looking for Karl Anthony Towns. Now, there's another player as we move into the second round, my guys list, the people that I'm trying to draft in fantasy basketball leagues this year. This is a guy that I'd be okay with taking with that last pick in the first round as well. Of course, from the Phoenix Suns, Devin Booker. Now, Devin Booker has always been a good performer for fantasy basketball, but we know from history that when he is responsible to kind of lead the offense and be the guy who facilitates and distributes the basketball, his fantasy value goes through the freaking roof. So for me, I am hyped about him falling to me in the second round. Now, I'm taking him with my first pick in the second round in a 12-team league. Chances are he might not fall there. So players that I'm looking at, if in fact he doesn't make it to me, first one is Paolo Banchero. Paolo Banchero is getting slept on right now. I think a lot of it has to do with the data that is coming out from category leagues and roto leagues, that somehow there's some blended ADP data getting out there. Specifically on hashtag basketball, I know they show a column for ESPN, but they don't specify whether they're points leagues or category league ADP data. And on ESPN, they actually break it down for you. If you go into the projections, if you play fantasy on ESPN, or if you're looking for a platform to play on, they do a really good job of breaking down points league data versus category league data, and you can actually have projections for those two separate, format types. Where on a platform like YouTube, there's my apologies, like on a platform like Yahoo, I should say, they kind of blend it all together. They have different kinds of rankings that include, it's a little less direct compared to ESPN. But any way you look at it, if you are a points league player, Paolo Banchero is the type of player you want on your squad. Let's keep going. And we're going to go to the third pick that I'm interested in that second round. And this is another player that is getting slept on, Kevin Durant. KD is an absolute machine for fantasy basketball, y'all. When I tell you, he has a long history of winning people championships. The issue is that he hasn't been healthy some years, right? And also he's aging, right? So he's up in age. People are concerned that he's going to regress. And even if he does regress, he's still going to be a top performer. So to get him in the second round, for fantasy, I love Kevin Durant. I think that the perception of him arriving in Houston might be that maybe there are too many mouths to feed. Well, I don't agree. I think like this is going to be even more opportunity for him to score because they're going to rely on him to be that primary scorer. And especially with the injury to Fred VanVleet, this is nothing but a runway to dominance for your man, Kevin Durant. So let's go ahead and move on to the third round. Oh my gosh. This is a guy that I think people are sleeping on a bed of nails. Chet Holmgren. Chet Holmgren, I've seen him fall to the fourth round. You know what I'm saying? People are just like passing him over. The argument is that he's better for category leagues than he is for points leagues. Listen, for points leagues, I think he finished in the 50s last year or the 40s. I have to pull it up to see. But anyway, you look at it, the thing about a young player is that a young player like Chet Holmgren, he has nothing but room to grow. Nothing but room to grow. So for me, the upside here, the fact that I could get him sometimes in the middle of the third round is just too much value for me to turn my back on. So I'm drafting Chet Holmgren whenever I can. Next player I'm looking at is another player that many would consider damaged goods from the New Orleans Pelicans, Zion Williamson. Now, Zion is the type of player that he has a history of injury. So he is in that category with the Anthony Davises of the world, with the Kawhi Leonards of the world, with the LaMelo Balls of the world. But the thing about Zion is his money is tied to his health, right? And it's clear, visibly clear, that the man did something over this offseason to, turn the page into a new chapter of his career. And I want to be a part of that chapter. I want to win some fantasy basketball championships with this dude. So like I like to say, top is off, boobies is out, hair blowing in the freaking wind with Zion Williamson. If he's healthy, you are talking about a top 10, top 15 type of talent for fantasy basketball points leagues. He is built for points leagues, guys. When I tell you, draft this man if he's available in the third round. Next player I'm looking at in a 12-team points league is another player that kind of goes under the radar, but he's been known to produce at a high level for fantasy basketball from the Orlando Magic, Franz Wagner. Some would argue that the arrival of Desmond Bane is going to impact him, maybe, slightly, marginally. However, fact of the matter is Franz Wagner's value is not reliant on him having the ball and scoring. He gets fantasy points in all types of ways. He's one of those all-around kind of guys. He's going to knock down threes. He's going to distribute the basketball. He's going to rebound, and then he's going to pour in some buckets. So for me, if I could grab this brother in the third round, I am drafting Franz Wagner. Next up in the fourth round, a player that, again, I don't hear people talking about as much this offseason, but I think there's tons of opportunity for him, Derek White. So Jrue Holiday is out of town. Jason Tatum is likely out for the rest of the season. Derek White has a huge opportunity to play at an all-star level this year. Mark my words. He has the opportunity, if they play him, right, to be an all-star this year. Like, the man has just been waiting for his opportunity. He's in the middle of his prime. We've always known he's been good. We've always known that he's been good for fantasy basketball, but now seeing him with Boston and him producing at this level, and now no Tatum, no Jrue Holiday, this is going to be wild, Joe. So my only concern with him is that the organization tanks and they start resting guys, resting back-to-backs, sitting people in the fourth quarter, that kind of malarkey. If they don't do that and they let this man play and just get his per-game stats up, he is going to dominate. He could very well have a top 30 finishing points leagues, maybe top 35 finishing points leagues. I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm high on Derek White. Next up, another player that I've always been high on is your man's in them, DeMar Not Like Us DeRozan. They not like us. I'm just saying, if you could grab him in this fourth round, especially in the middle late, like he's just dropping. People like have no interest in him. He is one of the safest picks in fantasy basketball. So especially if I'm jumping out the window and going for a Zion Williamson, I want to kind of offset that with some stability. So a player like DeMar DeRozan can afford me, the luxury of drafting someone like Zion or another injury-prone player. So for me, I'm all in on my man, DeMar Not Like Us DeRozan. Another player who I haven't really been traditionally high on, but he's fallen in drafts, and I think, he's been pretty healthy lately, I should say, Jamal Murray. I think Jamal Murray is a great fantasy basketball asset. Again, not someone that I've been really interested in drafting in years past. I just feel like this year, where he's going in drafts, it feels like it's value for me, and that's a player that I'm kind of looking for, especially at the back end of those fourth rounds. In the fifth round, a player that I think the fantasy community at large has been high on him, Trey Murphy III. Like he's a fantasy darling. Like we love him. There are injury concerns here. So if I grabbed a Zion Williamson, I wouldn't be interested in grabbing Trey Murphy III here. I just would stay away from it again because he's had some injuries in the past. But if your man plays, we know that he puts on for the city. Next up, a player that I really like. I compare him to like prime Andre Drummond. Like this is a 20-20 guy when he gets cooking from the Detroit Pistons. Your man's in him, Jalen Duren. And Jalen Duren, I've seen him go later than this. This is kind of my area where I'd go for it. If he was available, especially in the middle of the fifth, I'd be down to grab me some Jalen Duren. Next up, to close out my fifth round picks, one of my favorite fantasy basketball players. Oh my God. Like I love this dude, man. Like I am Method Man and Red Man high on this dude from the New York Knicks, OG Anunoby. I have so much OG Anunoby. And this has been over the years. I've never been disappointed with OG Anunoby. So for me, I'm like, man, listen, some would argue that this is kind of a reach for OG in points leagues. I don't give a Shih Tzu puppy. Huh? I don't give a Shih Tzu puppy. I am drafting my man, especially at the end. If I have one of those later picks in the fifth round, man, that I'm doing it every time. I just got to. Another not as popular name, but again, we talk about stability when it comes to points leagues. Julius Randle. He's just a consistent points league guy. And if I can get him here at the top in the sixth round, maybe not at the top of the sixth, but if I can grab him in the sixth round, I'll be okay with that. Another player that I see falling into that area is Brandon Miller. And I'd grab him in the sixth round. And this is a guy that I believe has all of this upside, right? And so much potential. And we haven't really seen it fully unlocked, and this could be the season. So if I could grab him at 6 and he unlocks his like third round value and I got him that first season, I love it, especially in a keeper league or in a dynasty format. If I can make a move to get him on my squad early before he really takes the top off, I'll be down to do that. And another player that folks are kind of neglecting is Darius Garland. Now I get it. Darius Garland is banged up and he might not play early on in the season, but this is a great draft and stash. And I think he's coming back soon enough that it would justify grabbing him here in this sixth round. So I'm all in on drafting Darius Garland in that area. Next up, let's go to the seventh round. In the seventh round, we're going to go all big men just to kind of give you a theme here. Whew, DeAndre Ayton. Oh, baby. You could probably get him later than that. I'm not messing around. Why? Luka Doncic literally makes centers better. Think prime James Harden when he was feeding Capella and it was like Lob City 2.0. This is what we're going to get in LA this year. I promise you. If Ayton stays healthy and Luka stays healthy, they're going to have a pick and roll situation that is otherworldly, and I want in on it. My next player here in the seventh round is a young buck who I think is going to take a huge leap this season from the Washington Wizards, Alex Sarr. I am K2 bath salt high on Alex Sarr. I am drafting him everywhere. And if he falls to you, you should do the same. And the last big man here in the 7th round I'm looking at is Isaiah Hartenstein. I just have a rich history with this guy. He always produces when I have him on my team. Relatively healthy guy. I love Isaiah Hartenstein. Let's take it to the 8th round. Oh, baby, this is where it gets good. So here in the 8th round, first player I want to talk about is Ausar Thompson. Think about Ausar Thompson like the discount version of his brother Amen Thompson, where Amen Thompson, early on in draft season was going in the 3rd round. Some people are taking him in the 2nd, and I've even seen people take him in the 1st. I'm not doing all of that for Amen Thompson. I could be wrong, but I'm not doing it. Now, his brother, your daggone Skippy Chippy, I would draft him here in the 8th round. If you do anything this season, leave your draft with one of the Thompson twins, but do not overpay for Amen. Now, the next player I want to talk about, it is not a sexy pick. I'll give you that disclaimer. It is not a sexy pick from the Miami Heat, Andrew Wiggins. Yes, Andrew Wiggins. I am targeting Andrew Wiggins because the value is just too great. This is a guy, if he really puts on, can be a top 50 guy. And he's falling all the way to the 8th round. Like, listen, yeah, it ain't sexy, but it might be the kind of move that could help you win a daggone championship. I'm just saying. Next up, from the Denver Nuggets in a new uniform, it's your man's in them, Cameron Johnson. Now, I know people are like Michael Porter Jr., Cameron Johnson. They have comparable skill sets, and I believe that Cam is going to move into the Michael Porter Jr. role. And I also think Michael Porter Jr. is going to have a decent season, but I'm more interested in Cameron Johnson at this stage of the draft. I think people are going a little earlier for Michael Porter Jr. I want no part of that. But Cameron Johnson here in the 8th round, I'd be completely fine with that. I think that is fair pickings. Now, here in the 9th round, I love this player. Like, I am so daggone high on this dude. I'm telling you, from the Chicago Bulls, Matas Buzelis. Always knew he was a high flyer. He was in a dunk contest a while back. Also, he's a young dude with nothing but upside. Killed in Summer League. Just want to see what he can do this season. So grabbing him here in this 9th round area is completely fine with me. Another player that I'm really curious in terms of his upside is Kel'el Ware. Like, Kel'el Ware in Miami, nothing but opportunity for him there. And I think he can produce at a very high level. And I think he'll beat 9th round value. I think he could creep a little higher than that. So for that reason, I would draft him. Last but not least, here in this 9th round is Jalen Suggs. Now, Jalen Suggs, folks are lower on him this season. And I understand with the arrival of Desmond Bane, they believe there's not going to be as much opportunity for him. However, Jalen Suggs is an absolute dog. Whether his standalone value with no injuries happening, everybody healthy, he is still, I believe, going to be able to produce at a 9th round level. But here's the catch. If somebody goes down, if Desmond Bane goes down, and there's an opportunity for him to start or for him to get an increased workload, it's going to be on and popping. Your man is a steals machine. And in fantasy basketball, especially in a points league, those steals are heavily weighted and hard to find. So for me, I am all in on Jalen Suggs here in the 9th round. Next up in the 10th round, we're going to start off with a sexy name, Toumani Camara. I'm telling you, your man with his positional eligibility as small forward and power forward, him being on the upstart, Chauncey Billups led Portland Trailblazers ready. They ready for blood, yo. They ready to cook. I watched them in preseason. They look hungry. They look spry. They're bouncy. I'm all in on Toumani Camara. The next guy in the 10th round I'll be interested in taking is Zach Edey. Now, Zach Edey is banged up, but he'll play this season. And I think when he does, he'll produce at a high level. Now, this one is going to be controversial. In the 10th round, especially at the back end of the 10th round, this is a player I'm targeting, and I'm going to tell you why. From the Dallas Mavericks, Kyrie Irving. Now, I've seen Kyrie go earlier than the 10th in some mock drafts. I've seen him also forgotten about and go very late or not at all. The reason I'm telling you to target Kyrie Irving is because the Dallas Mavericks are going to be playing for a championship. They are not out here trying to tank and like wait another year. They got enough talent on their squad without Kyrie to get into the play-in and even into the middle seeding of the NBA playoffs in a loaded Western Conference, right? I think this is a team that is still built to compete. Now, when Kyrie comes back, they'll have to ramp him up. He's scheduled to come back sometime in February during I want to say trade deadline time or All-Star break time. But when he comes back, he's going to ramp up a little bit, and then he's going to compete at a high level because they're going to be trying to get a good playoff spot. What they want to do is avoid the play-in. And if Kyrie's healthy and you get him for your fantasy basketball playoffs and you paid 10th round value for him, you and I will both win our championships. Mark my words, circle this name, put him in your queue. And I've seen him go in the ninth. If you want to be bold and go back into the ninth, I wouldn't go crazy. I've seen people draft him in the eighth. I'm not drafting him in the eighth. I'm not giving up Ausar Thompson for the potential hope of getting Kyrie. But in that 10th round, I think that's the sweet spot. Speaking of sweet spots, I got a sweet spot for this dude. When I tell you, he is cooking and talking junk to legends. Ace Bailey from the Utah Jazz was talking crap to Kevin Durant, y'all. Yeah, let that sink in. I am taking him in the 11th round, but I would be okay with getting him at the back end of the 10th. This could be a game changer. Rookies traditionally don't do well in fantasy basketball their first season. There are outliers like Victor Wembanyama, but Ace Bailey, I think for points leagues is going to be great, especially in the 11th round. I think he blows 11th round value out of the water. Next player from the Detroit Pistons, Jaden Ivey. Definitely interested in Jaden Ivey bouncing back. Again, he doesn't have so much of a history concern. It's just he's coming off of an injury. So I'm fine with grabbing Jaden Ivey here in that 11th round. Another player I am super high on, TJ McConnell. People are talking about Peyton Pritchard, which I get it. And I see Peyton Pritchard go as early as the 8th round. Like he's going earlier. People are talking about Aaron Nembhard. He's even going earlier. If I could get TJ in the 11th, TJ might very well perform both Peyton Pritchard and Andrew Nembhard. Mark my words. Draft yourself some TJ McConnell. Now, in the 12th round, somebody who's falling is my man, Jay Huff. And listen, we don't know what's going to happen with Jay Huff and Isaiah Jackson in Indiana, who's going to be the main guy. But I'm willing at this point of the draft to roll my dice. And if I don't get him, then I'd be open to taking Isaiah Jackson. So those two guys I'm looking at drafting here in this 12th round as my second to last pick. I'm trying to see if I can secure one of these Indiana Pacers big men. I think they're going to produce, especially when you talk about grabbing them in the 12th. I think they'll outperform that draft position. And the last guy I'm looking at in the 12th round is another rookie, VJ Edgecombe. I watched VJ Edgecombe in Daggone Summer League, and I was blown away, y'all. I was like, this kid is special, explosive. He is no fear in his eyes. So I'm interested to see what happens. Then here in the final round, in the 13th round, DeJounte Murray. People are just like, DeJounte Murray's injured. Don't mess with him. DeJounte Murray is coming back this season and very similar to a very similar timeline as Kyrie Irving, but it's the same thing. New Orleans might very well be competing to get into the playoffs or get into the play-in. And if that's the case, there's opportunity for DeJounte Murray here. So for me, I'm okay with stashing him. First up, my man, Neemias Queta. Now, your man Queta he's been around for a while. He's not a spring chicken. But in Boston, he's finally getting his due. And I think this is an opportunity, especially with the last pick of your draft, if he's available, a player I'm taking. Another big man, a rookie big man, I should say, from the Charlotte Hornets, Ryan Kalkbrenner. Now, listen, I got an opportunity to watch him in Dallas when Dallas played Charlotte in a preseason game, and he takes up a lot of space on the floor. He's like definitely clogging the middle. You know what I'm saying? Also, he's getting to the boards. I think for 13th round value, he will outperform that. So I would throw some darts at the wall for this one, and I'm going to grab me some Ryan Kalkbrenner. Now that you know my must-draft players in every single round, check out this playlist for all of our must-draft sleepers.